Hello everyone, Andrew here, and this is my vacation pickup video. Thank you very much to everyone who wished me well on my trip, and I had a fantastic time. And yeah, thanks for your patience as well. As usual, when I get back, I do a pickup video on things that I picked up while I was gone. And this year, I have to say, there's definitely not as much as last year. I know that last year, I think it was last year, I had to split it into like two parts that was absolutely gigantic. A couple things are happening. One, last year I did go through bins of things that people were selling for like 50 cents, $1. Picked out a lot of the kind of sports games and not so popular games, so that I could build up a good bulk for a few things like Xbox and PS2, even Nintendo 64, and of course there wasn't as many games as I need like that this year, so I would see things like that and I wouldn't just go through it and pick out 20 different things that I needed because I had already done that last year. And secondly, it is starting to gradually get more difficult to find retro games like that I need. Of course, there's a lot of the more upper ones, more expensive ones that are like, $10, $20. There's even some $5 ones, but I don't just go after them as crazy, like I did with some of the ones last year, which were like usually no more than $2. So expect a not as gigantic amount of pickups this year, but there are some pretty cool things here. Now, there are some neat stories to go along with a few of the things, and as overall, I really hope that you enjoy seeing what I picked up on my crazy 2014 vacation, which took me to a whole bunch of weird places. I went to New York, I went down to Kentucky, so I go to the Mammoth Cave, but New York is always fun. A few of the things came came from New York. I stopped at a lot of video game stores along the way, too, like around Buffalo and things like that, because you have to go through that to get back up to Toronto. Where I live. So let's see, where should we start off with this? I guess the main place that we should always start off is with our NES games, because this takes me over 730 NES games. So there's like 40 more to go. It's absolutely ridiculous. I love getting carts. I would love it if every game I had was in the box, but someone recently made a comment about how they don't count having games in their collection unless they're in box. To me, I just love having the game. For some boxes, I mean, it's virtually impossible to find some of them. I mean, of course you could, but I just like having the game. If I get the box and stuff, that's of course a bonus, but I would never pass up a cart that I don't have just because it doesn't have the box. But with that said, a real game and an unlicensed game, and they're both pretty crazy games. The first one, which is the licensed one, is Mickey's Adventure in Numberland. Now, there is Mickey's Adventure in Letterland as well, and that one's a lot more common. Well, I say a lot more. I've seen it probably 4 or 5 times. I mean, so it's not Mario Duck Hunt rare. But Numberland is for some reason way harder to get my hands on, or it was harder to get my hands on. I'm not sure if that was just me, maybe other people are like, no, my GameStop, well, probably not GameStop. My Play and Trade has like 50 copies of that right now, but no, this was the first time I've ever actually seen this. So yeah, I jumped on it, and I was super happy to get my hands on that. And the second game is Bible Buffet, and this is some crazy kind of Bible mixed with Candyland with food kind of thing. It's really weird. It's like a board game. It's just the most bizarre thing, and you wonder what it has to do with the Bible at some point. But it was made by everyone's favorite Wisdom Tree company, so I will probably end up having to play this around Christmas, just like I did with Bible Adventures last Christmas. But yes, that is the total NES kind of scavenging that happened on the trip. It's not like, I can't just go into the store and look through their games and say, okay, I need that one, that one, that one, that one, like I used to be able to. Now, they'll have, like, their normal stacks of NES games where you see a lot of the Marios and things like that, but usually games I need won't even be in there. They'll be off to the side in, like, the expensive cabinet, away from everything else. So, it's getting harder to get my hands on NES games, but these are the ones I picked up. The only NES game on the trip that I saw that I didn't have, that I didn't pick up, was Zombie Nation, and they were charging $160 for it. So I'm getting into the point now where I'm willing to pay a bit more for NES games that I don't have, but I'm still not willing to pay that much for one NES game that I don't have. So that's that for now. Maybe if I get down to like 20 or something, I'll start just throwing out $100 bills at all the NES games. No, even then. I'll still try my best to find them as cheap as I can. But I understand that with 40 to go, it's getting more difficult. But anyway, we haven't shown too much, and it's already been like 6 minutes. What do I want to show next? Next up, we have a stack of PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox games. Not a super massive amount of old things. We're going to see some Master System, some Genesis, and some Super Nintendo coming up, as well as some 64, but I have a nice little stack of some not completely new, but somewhat newer stuff. So let's have a look at this. On the top of our stack is Phantasy Star Online Episode 3 Card Revolution. Now, maybe people out there can give me all of your kind of crazy insight on Phantasy Star Online. I know that it was for the Dreamcast, and it was, of course, online. But of course I never had a Dreamcast back in the day, unfortunately, so I never really was able to experience it. But this is apparently the third one where it turns into a card game for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. So maybe someone out there who knows more about the series can, you know, fill me in. I do love card games, like video games based on card games, or video games that kind of center around a universe where people for some reason play cards. So like Pokemon trading card game on Game Boy Advance, absolutely fantastic. So this could possibly be very cool. So let me know what you think about this. Would someone who knows nothing about Phantasy Star 1 and 2 be able to play this? Of course, this did have online capabilities as well, although it does emphasize on the back that it does have offline mode as well. Which is good, because I know that my Dreamcast Phantasy Star 1 disc is pretty much completely useless because you can't play online anymore. But yes, there is that. So next up on the list is Karaoke Revolution. Now some people might be saying, Andrew, you already have Karaoke Revolution for the GameCube. I may have actually picked this up on last year's vacation, thinking about it now. So I probably showed it in that pickup video. The reason I picked it up again is because this game came bundled, and I could only get this with it if I bought the game with it, but luckily it was only $5. So I bought this so I could get my hands on the black GameCube microphone. Now, people may know that there's a very common gray version of this microphone, but I've never actually seen the black one before, which I'm assuming only came bundled with this, because it even shows microphone required, and it shows a picture of the black microphone at the bottom. So I'm guessing it only came bundled with this game, unlike the gray one, which came bundled with things like Mario Party 6 and 7, Odama, and a few other ones as well. So this might be the only game that the black one came with, and I've never actually seen it before. So since it was bundled with that, even though I had the game, I grabbed it just because I love crazy accessories, and this microphone is super cool, so I was really happy to get my hands on that. Next up, we have The Hobbit, of course, a Lord of the Rings thing. A lot of Lord of the Rings GameCube games, but I don't have The Hobbit, so now I can say that I have The Hobbit. We also have Shrek Extra Large. Now, Shrek is that interesting guy who had too many movies. Now, I saw the first one in theaters. I think I might have seen like the second one at a friend's house, and I never saw 3 or 4. So people who love Shrek can fill me in on all the crazy plot twists that I have missed out on. Next up, we have Home Run King for the GameCube. Of course, we have Driven, and we have 4x4 or 4x4 Evo 2. More racing shenanigans. So I love collecting for GameCube, people might know. I'm over halfway through the GameCube collection, which is absolutely awesome. Because GameCube, it's just such an awesome console. And I say this every time, but it's definitely kind of like the peak of Nintendo consoles for me. Just there's so many good games for it. And the controller is, of course, like the best controller ever. That's why they're bringing it back again for Smash Brothers Brawl. Not Brawl, Wii U. But of course it was in Smash Brothers Brawl as well, you could use it. But that's awesome. So I do absolutely love my GameCube games, and that's another good chunk taken off if you don't include Karaoke Revolution, which I already had there. But moving on to some PS2, we have a very popular game known as Ico. I have what is it called? Shadow of the Colossus. I've heard this is the prequel. I can't say I know too much about the series, unfortunately. But that is all complete, which is pretty cool. And yeah, I might have to give it a shot. Of course, the ideal way to do it would probably be to play the collection that came out for PS3. Because the PS3 has a ton of really awesome collections. But I'll have to look into that for sure. Next up, we have a name I'm going to botch completely. It's Ixia Lin Showdown, and I think this is based on a show. But if it is, I've never actually heard of this show. So again, this is the video where everyone who has knowledge about all the things I've never heard of before can share that knowledge with me, because I would love to know. We have Haven, Call of the King, which looks like this crazy guy. For some reason, that's the way he reminds me of like Jack for some reason. I don't know, but it looks like a pretty crazy game where a lot of crazy things go on. I guess probably because it shows like the desert too. I guess it reminds me a lot of Jack 3 for some reason. Next up, we have everybody's favorite game, the Bible game, because, you know, in case Bible Buffet was not enough for you, we got more of the Bible there. We also have Guitar Hero Van Halen, because who remembers back when there was like a new Guitar Hero game released like every month. It was absolutely ridiculous. Just every band out there had a version of Guitar Hero. That's died down significantly now. But you can still pick these up for rather cheap every now and then, since the craze is over. And yeah, Guitar Hero Van Halen is one that I did not have. Next up, we have George of the Jungle and the Search for the Secret. Well, that's very descriptive what we're searching for there, but it is indeed the search for some kind of secret. And actually, what's over here is it was kind of in a set. Actually, I'll show this first. And for the Xbox, we have Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller. Now, I've played Crazy Taxi 1, I've played a little bit of Crazy Taxi 2, but I know nothing at all about Crazy Taxi 3. It looks like it takes place some kind of casino land. Absolutely bizarre. But I don't know, how much can you build on top of the original Crazy Taxi concept? You pick people up, you drop them off in this kind of city environment, and then you go and do it again and again and again and again until you run out of time. I don't know. But I guess we will find out. It looks like he's driving across like a football stadium or something. That's absolutely ridiculous. Conquer dozens of new mini-games in Crazy X. We will have to see about that. And to end off our PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube shenanigans here, we have the Hitman Trilogy. People will know I absolutely love my kind of trilogy collections for PS2. There were a lot of them. I guess kind of just like PS3 had them, but they were all in like one disc instead of having ones like Pac-Man World and ones like that where you instead get Devil May Cry, where you have like 3 discs in one kind of box, which is really neat. All of them are in very nice shape. They're all complete. Actually, better if they come out this way, so you can kind of see them all there. Really cool. I haven't played the Hitman games. I know that there were movies, and I think I've seen one of the movies a very long time ago. But overall, that is a cool set that I am happy to be adding to my collection of PS2 games. Okay, what do we want to move on to next? Let's move on to some Sega Saturn. Let's get rid of the Sega stuff here. Sega stuff does not pop up too often in my videos, so it's always awesome when I'm able to get my hands on it. And here we have the prequel to a game that I already own, and it's actually a very fun game. It is the Clockwork Knight, which is actually a very fun side-scrolling platforming series on the Sega Saturn, which not too many people know about. But it is very interesting. So if you have a Sega Saturn and you're looking for some side-scrolling platforming games to play, definitely check them out because they are quite fun. And that is all there, complete. Now I don't want to drop this because these cases are very brittle, and we will be getting to actually talking about that a little bit in just a second. Next up, we have Bust a Move 2 Arcade Edition for the Sega Saturn. Again, in very nice shape. They even have the foam pieces inside, which is very good. Third, we have Congo the Movie, The Lost City of Zinj. Now, if this is actually based on a movie, I need to confess here that I have never heard of this movie. I've heard of King Kong, I've heard of the remake of King Kong, but I've never heard of Congo the Movie. Movie critics out there, feel free to yell at me if I am missing a classic masterpiece, although feel free to also tell me if it was awful, because I am not entirely sure, but I guess people just love making movies about gigantic gorillas. Next up, we have FIFA Soccer 96, which I picked up for 99 cents. And then we have FIFA Soccer 96, and then we have another copy of FIFA Soccer 96, and I could do this like 4 more times, but basically I picked up a lot of copies of FIFA Soccer 96. One of the stores that I went to was selling all of these for 99 cents a piece. Now, and what I found out was when I looked up on eBay, I can resell these for $100 each. No, I'm kidding. I didn't buy them to resell. I'm pretty sure it doesn't go for any more than 99 cents. Now, the reason I bought these is because, as I mentioned, Sega Saturn and Sega CD games have these really, and even some of the original PlayStation 1 games, have these really weird cases where the corners of the case that kind of keep the front connected break very, very, very easily. Just drop it a little bit or look at it the wrong way and it will snap off. And then you have this case that's not attached and it really, really sucks. So since I noticed that these were only 99 cents each, I bought them as spare cases, because I have a ton of Sega CD and Saturn games, which unfortunately have been plagued with that problem. Anyone who has Sega CD or Saturn games will know exactly what I'm talking about. People who don't have them may not know. I really should have grabbed one. Actually, I think I'll do that. Why did I not grab one? We will be right back. Okay, actually let's make sure I'm not sitting on anything. Alright, so like here, Shanghai Triple Threat, for example, you can see the corner where the kind of cover stays connected to the rest of the case has somehow shattered, so instead of it opening nicely like it should, the front just pops off, and it absolutely sucks. So that's why I bought some of these extra cases, because they will fit. I can of course just exchange them. It's a very easy process, and it will make my games look much, much better. And it's just so hard to find spare cases because of their weird size. It's not like you know, some PlayStation 1 games or Dreamcast games where you can find any generic CD cover out there, and there's like bajillions of them on every kind of music CD and whatnot, and exchange it like that. These things are just so specific that to pick up them for 99 cents, even though obviously I didn't really need the games, I just had to get them for the cases. Because otherwise, just a whole bunch of my games in my collection are like that. So I was really happy to be able to finally get some extra covers so I could fix that. But before I drop them, let me put them down nicely over here. Actually, let me just make sure. Yes, we could grab these, put these here, and put these here. So yeah, that's why I grabbed those extra cases. Not because you can resell them for $100 each. Although if suddenly FIFA Soccer 96 does become worth $100, that would be kind of hilarious. But I'm pretty sure it's not. Pretty sure nobody wants ancient FIFA Saturn games. But yes, so that's why I bought a whole bunch of those. Because yeah, having extra Saturn and Sega CD covers is absolutely awesome. And yeah, we might as well finish up the rest of the Sega things that I have here. For the Sega Master System, I picked up Maze Hunter 3D. Now, I don't have too many opportunities to pull out my Sega Master System 3D glasses. So this is like super complete. The cover doesn't even want to open very wide because it's hardly ever been used from the looks of it. And it is all there. So yeah, it's a game for the Sega Master System that uses the 3D glasses. I love crazy things like that, so I jumped on that. And I also grabbed Trampoline Terror for the Sega Genesis because it looked like a really fun game. Although maybe I will be completely deceived and it will be awful. But that is why I grabbed that, because it looked quite good, and that was all there. And the last thing that's somewhat Sega related is this TAC Scan game for the Atari 2600, made by Sega, which is actually really cool. And that's all there, complete. And I thought that was cool, because it's so bizarre to think back on Atari. Nintendo made games for Atari, Sega made games for Atari, everybody made games for Atari. So just to see, it's like, it was made by Sega. This was something I definitely wanted to own, and it's a cool game. So, I mean, as cool as you can get on the Atari 2600. So I grabbed that as well. Alright, what do we want to move on to next? Next up, let's talk a little bit about some Nintendo DS games that I picked up. Now, these aren't just any Nintendo DS games, because these are actually a gigantic stack. Oh, it's not. I guess it's not technically gigantic, but they are Japanese Nintendo DS games. And whenever I go to New York, I go to the store called Book Off, and they just have tons of stuff from Japan at ridiculously good prices. So just for fun, I picked up a whole bunch of things that I thought were really cool, and they were also not very expensive either. And the first thing we're going to be pointing out here are the first 3 Professor Layton games in Japanese, because people will know I absolutely love Professor Layton. And of course, having games that I love from different regions, such as like Mario World, I have it from like 4 different regions. I have it from North America, from PAL, from Japan, and even from Korea. So the same applies to Professor Layton. I am absolutely ecstatic to be owning these games from Japan. They are of course complete with all the flyers and everything that's supposed to be included in them, which is super, super cool. And yeah, those are 3 of the Japanese DS games that I got. Next up, we have Brain Age 1 and 2. Now, they were selling these for $1 each. They had like 20 of them, and nobody wants Japanese Brain Age. So as a collector, I said, you know what, that is so bizarre that I picked up both of them. Instead of being called Brain Age 2, this one is just more Brain Age, except it's not actually even called Brain Age. It's called DS Training, which is kind of crazy. And next up, we have, Ryusei no Rockman Leo, of course, Mega Man Star Force 1. Leo version from Japan. This was also only $5 because obviously no one in New York wants to buy a Japanese RPG that they cannot read. But I was gonna say I love the Star Force series. I love the Battle Network series, which we'll actually be talking about in a few minutes. Star Force was kind of a downgrade, which sucks. You'd think that it's supposed to be the successor to Battle Network, and it was on the DS instead of the Game Boy Advance, so you would expect it to be better, but it's unfortunate that they kind of wrecked a few things with that. We have Sawaru Made in Wario, which is WarioWare touched in North America. Like cover arts are sometimes way nicer in Japan than they are in North America. And then sometimes they are just a picture of not even actually Wario's face. It's his eyes, nose, and mustache, and his mustache is being pulled. That's about as basic as a cover as you can get. What do we got here? We have Touch Kirby. And people can probably guess that this is Kirby's Canvas Curse. Yeah, that name was most certainly given a gigantic overhaul when it came to North America. Here we have a fun one. This is Death Note, the Japanese game. This, again, was only $5. I guess absolutely nobody likes Death Note or has any interest in buying a Death Note game just for the sake of buying it. Death Note's a fun anime. I'm sure a lot of people have probably watched it. I like Death Note, so I picked up the game. Also, it's only rated A, where some people don't know in Japan, instead of having, rated E, rated teen, rated M, it starts with A, which is kind of like E for everyone. And then there's B, which is like teen, and then there's C, which is mature, and I think it even goes a bit higher than that. But yeah, Death Note game that's an A? How can it be an A? Death Note was not rated E for everyone, last time I checked. And we also have this game, which I've never heard of before, and it was again $5, and it just intrigued me, so I picked it up. Hopefully someday I will be able to play these. That is my goal. This is Project Hacker. Who does not want to be a crazy hacker guy hacking into things? Maybe it even means Mario World ROM hacking. I have no idea, but I picked up that. And who could not pick up Ego for your Nintendo DS? Beating all of those people in the craziest, ancientist. It's not a word, but I wanted to say it anyway. Board game of all time. So yeah, those are some really random, Japanese games that I picked up for my DS, but especially I love the Layton ones. The other ones I picked up because I thought they were cool, and they were also very good deals. But Layton especially, I mean, I absolutely love Professor Layton. We're going to be seeing Layton again at the end of this video, which has also kind of been going on for quite a while. Andrew rambles about things too much, he thinks. But yes, Professor Layton is the best, in case that was not already established. Next up, what do we got? Let's have a look at this. We have Cruisin' Exotica for the Nintendo 64. I have all the other cruising games for the Nintendo 64. For some reason, Exotica is the hardest one to find. And yeah, it was just bugging me that I did not have all the cruising games. I looked through my list of games that I needed, and there would always be that one cruising game that I didn't have. So I finally picked that up on my latest vacation. This is a very cool game. I need to make sure I do not kick over the FIFA games that I have placed on the floor. This right here is Buster Brothers for the original Game Boy. Now, I paid $5.99 for this. And it's kind of a funny story. People may know that I absolutely love the Buster Brothers games, or known as Pong in other parts of the world. They are super fun. You're just these guys, and you shoot up at these giant bubbles that are destroying the world for some reason. The Game Boy one is not easy to get your hands on. I one time went to a flea market where someone was trying to sell this for $30, and even if you go online, people try to sell it for similar amounts to that. So I found it for $6, and I was absolutely ecstatic, because I've been looking for it for a long time, and other than that one time I saw it for $30, I just have not come across it, so I'm super happy to get my hands on that. It's not every day I buy a Game Boy game, which I am super happy about, so I was very happy about that. Also, some random complete in-box Super Nintendo games. We have NCAA Basketball, and we have Tecmo Super NBA Basketball. Now, not anything to get super excited about, but they are complete. They even have kind of a weight to them. They have, like, you know, stats and stuff, stat posters and things for the teams, and they are actually in fairly decent shape. So I was happy to get my hands on those. What have we not talked about here? We've talked about the DS games. We've talked about the Super Nintendo games. We have talked about the microphone. We're going to talk about some Mega Man. We're going to talk about that thing and that thing. Wow, this is going on for way longer than I thought it would. But we'll see what happens. I'll rush to the rest of it. Right here, we have the Monster Brain. Now, this is not going to focus in, so I will once again be cool and focus in on it for people. This is a crazy thing for the original Game Boy and Game Boy Color, which is specifically made for cheating with the classic Pokemon games all of the way up to Crystal, I believe. And it can do crazy things like modify your character's name without having to start a new game, or modify how much money you have, or do a whole bunch of weird things. It even has a button right there which lets you add color to the games which did not have color, such as blue and red. So that is really, 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 really neat. It was $10. I couldn't believe it. Usually people charge like $30 for cheating devices, but I had to grab this because I love cheating with my Pokemon games. And yeah, it apparently has all those extra features too, which you can't just easily do with a Game Shark. So I thought that was super cool, and I was super excited when I came across that. Next up, let's talk a little bit about Mega Man. I absolutely love Mega Man Battle Network, and it had a show that was called Mega Man NT Warriors. So one of the stores that I went to had some ancient figure sets from that show, and I had to pick them up just because I absolutely love the Battle Network series and the show that goes with it. Also, speaking of the show, I have tried so hard to get my hands on all of the DVDs for it. I think there were 14 DVDs. No, yeah, it was 14. I'm pretty sure. I'm missing like 2 of them. And number 3 was one of the ones that I'm missing. Because if you go online and look for Mega Man NT Warrior DVDs, some of them will go for like $50, and it's absolutely ridiculous because they've been out of print for like forever. So I actually came across this one at a store for $3. The same place I came across the Monster Brain. As you can tell, it has the same stickers on it. But now I can't even watch it because it's sealed. Now, part of me is like, yeah, obviously, if I want to watch it, I can open it. But just, I don't want to. Like, of all things for me to find it in, I can never find it anywhere. It's like the rarest DVD ever. And I found a sealed copy, which is so awesome. But then you can't watch it. But then I can just download it off the internet anyway. But I still love things like this. I love the Battle Network series. I love the anime. So, I was pretty excited when I found that. Also, some things that I got from Book Off that I did not remember to mention when I mentioned all those DS games, is a very nice Pokemon Diamond and Pearl Japanese guidebook. Japanese guidebooks are always so much fun. They have such nice art. Of course, I can't understand half of it, but they're still super fun to look through with the maps and everything. And I mean, I can understand some of it, so it's not that big of a deal. Plus, I don't really plan to use it too much. I plan to just look through it for fun, pretty much. That's kind of my plan here. But overall, it is quite a nice book. In case I ever want to remember what Pokemon there were back when Diamond and Pearl existed. Also, I picked up the Pokemon Coliseum guidebook. Now, I have to say, since getting back from my vacation, I actually had a friend over, and we were like, okay, what game should we play? And he said, I've never played Pokemon Coliseum. So he popped it in, and we played it for like 6 hours straight. I'm not kidding. We actually had a decent amount of fun with it. One problem that I have noticed with Pokemon Coliseum is that it gets very dry at parts. It's just battle after battle after battle after battle. And even catching the Shadow Pokemon in the battle doesn't always add this super massive amount of excitement to it, because it's still just the same battles with the same kind of everything. So I mean, it's like, yeah, you got to a new dungeon, but all that means is you have to climb up like 4 levels worth of stairs with like 5 battles on each floor. Then you have to go inside a cave, and there's like 10 more battles to do in there, and it's just battle, 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 battle. So it's a cool game, it's fun, but it gets really dry, and that's my opinion. And I mean, because of that, I have to admit I've never actually beaten it. I've gotten close to beating it, but then I just can't push myself at the end to beat it. And there's even Mount Battle, where you just do 100 battles in a row, and I think I would sooner jump off a cliff than do that. I would do the Pit of 100 Trials all day long, because I love Paper Mario. I think it has one of the most awesome battle systems ever, but just 100 straight battles of Pokemon in Pokemon Coliseum is not something I think I would live through. I guess, for lack of a better term, that's probably how I feel. I mean, it has some neat places, like like an underground city where everyone lives under. That's awesome. Like, there's some really cool things about this game. But then, I guess, just for some reason, just battle after battle after battle. It doesn't even have that much exploration, and it's very linear compared to other Pokemon games where it's like, oh, I don't want to do that gym right now. Forget that. I'm gonna go explore this route that's not even required. But Pokemon Coliseum is not like that. So I don't know. Share your Pokemon Coliseum memories. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's fun-ish. It's fun. But it gets dry and boring. And no, not boring, but repetitive. Something like that, I don't know. Fill in the blanks. It's like Andrew Pokemon Coliseum Mad Libs. Only $5 at your local dollar store. Okay, what else is there to talk about? There are 3 more things here which we need to discuss. And we will not spend long on them because I've been rambling too long. The first is the Odyssey 300. Now, I, of course, have the original Odyssey. I have the Odyssey 2, or the Odyssey Squared. There's also the Odyssey 200, which is very similar to this. The Odyssey 300 isn't that different. I actually found this in the Hell's Kitchen flea market in New York. Now, it's not called Hell's Kitchen because it's based on the TV show. Pretty sure that was called Hell's Kitchen first. Although I'm not entirely sure why. But they had a flea market, and I picked this up, and it is in super amazing shape. And yeah, it's a Pong console, as you can see from the picture there, as it is displaying Pong. But of course, I do love my Pong consoles, and considering this one was complete in the box and in super, super nice shape, I decided to pick that up. Second last thing we're going to look at is an Atari video pinball machine. And this, of course, has video pinball on it. Which was also a cartridge game on the 2600 later on. And it also has things like Breakout built into it too. So I thought that was a super cool machine. You have buttons on the side, you have the knob in the middle, and that is super awesome. I'm very happy to be adding that to my collection. And the final thing that I want to show everyone is something that my very good friend, Teal Game Master, sent me when he went to Gamescom over in Europe, and that is a Professor Layton plushie. I have always wanted a plushie of Professor Layton, and just, you don't find them here. I've been to Anime North, I've been to Fan Expo, I've been to anime conventions all over the place, and I've just never, ever seen a Professor Layton plushie. So he goes to Gamescom, and he sees it, and he's like, I have to buy that for Andrew. So, you know what, I appreciate that so much, Teal. Thank you so much, and like I said to you, he shall be treated like a king. I'll make like a throne for him or something like that. Also, he's not going to stand up here. So before he falls and dies, we will just say goodbye here. So yeah, that's everything I picked up on my vacation. I hope you enjoyed seeing it. It definitely wasn't as much as I've picked up in previous years. I also probably rambled on a lot. People probably also don't understand why I picked up Japanese WarioWare Touched. But you know, it's just, there's things like that that are kind of fun to own. Plus, as someone who someday hopes to be able to read crazy things like this, it doesn't hurt to have a few Japanese Nintendo DS games lying around. Of course, before Nintendo went all stupid and region locked the 3DS. But for people wondering, you can play Japanese original DS games on your 3DS. It's not region locked for original DS games, only 3DS games. So if you have a Japanese DS game, you can play it on your 3DS regardless of what region your 3DS is from. But then they region locked it because, yeah. Basically, at the time this video goes up, I'm going to be playing Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright, so don't expect much out of me because it just finally made its way over to North America after it's been out over in Europe since like March. It's absolutely ridiculous. It just came out here on like August 29th. It's really silly. But I'm playing that. This is the most awesome thing ever. Thank you so much, Teal. And yeah, thanks for your patience once again. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of the crazy things that I picked up. And yeah, expect my schedule to be kind of weird over the next while. I have no idea when things are going to be going up, so I apologize. I have a lot to go through. I have school coming up. I just have absolutely everything. So yeah, if things are weird, if there's gaps, I'm sorry, but I'll try to do what I can when I can. So thanks for watching this. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time for something different. So thanks, and see you later.